Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new week out there so far. We got a few things to talk about in this morning's video, and it's pretty much going to go just like the last few morning videos. We'll speak on what we're seeing in the near to long-term future and everything in between, and then we'll talk about today's forecast. There is a time frame that I want to mention a lot in, the long range forecast kind of portion of this video, which is the first half. And I do think in this time frame we could have a stronger or powerful storm system, maybe the return of severe weather, maybe a powerful winter storm kind of mixed in between, maybe a mixture of everything. So there's no storm that we're locking on to right now. So we continue kind of our quiet push of weather, which I'm certainly I certainly appreciate. I've been enjoying the quieter turn with the weather, but we're going to talk about everything we know in this video and break it all down. Everything will be sectioned out well for you folks. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And we will have you a devotion at the end of tomorrow's video, and we'll get on a steady routine of that for sure. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest 6 to 10 day temperature outlook per the Climate Prediction Center, and we'll click on this. This runs from, wow, do they not have it up for us? Yeah, this runs from March 1st through March 5th. So this is fully into March, and where you see the shades of orange and red, darker orange, is where confidence is there for above average temperatures for the first 5 days of March. So, this kind of lighter shade of orange, 33% chance of temperatures being above normal. This is a 40, this is a 50, and this is where they have some medium to high confidence in temperatures being above average in this time frame. Now, in the grayed out area, that's around pretty much leaning one way or the other. I always like to view it as we're probably going to have average temperatures in this time frame for this grayed out region. And this is where they're leaning towards cooler conditions in the blue. So it looks like the majority of the country is going to be at least average to maybe slightly to well above average temperature wise to start the first 5 days of March. So if we look at the precipitation outlook in the same time frame, there's nobody going for below average precipitation. You're either at around average precipitation or slightly to just flat out above average chances at precipitation. Now, whether that's snow, rain, storms, of course, we got to iron out those details, but the confidence is highest right here in kind of the central to southern high plains, right where Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado meet. But I mean, a good chunk of the country has a 40% chance of precipitation being above normal in this kind of first 5 days of March time frame, and we got a 33% chance here. Now, if we flip it back to temperatures and we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, this is kind of a time frame where the country could begin to cool back down. So this is between the 3rd and the 9th of March. So getting on out there, and a large area is in that gray, which is, a 36% chance of temperatures being around normal. So around normal temperatures. Southern plains could hang on to slightly above average temperatures. And then the Northeast, I think, continues to hang on to the below average temperatures, at least a shot to do so. And then I do think the West begins to cool off. Now, we have had some trends in some of the long-range model guidance that maybe we're not going to have as big of a cool down as maybe we were thinking several days into March, which I'm certainly happy about. I'm not complaining at all, even as a cold and winter weather fan. But it does look like in that 8 to 14 day range, the 3rd to the 9th, once again, most of the country is probably going to at least lean towards above average precipitation in this time frame. So I'm showing you this for a reason, and that is because I do think active weather is on the way as we get into early March. Now, does that just mean kind of zonal systems where a lot of rain happens and maybe a kind of a winter weather to rain type event, or are we going to have systems ejecting across the country, pulling in all that warm, moist air out the Gulf, and are we going to run the risk for severe weather? It's getting to that time of the year, and I'm already watching a time frame for that maybe to occur. So most of the country running a shot at above average precipitation for basically the first 10 days of March, I would say. So let's go on and look at some some model guidance. Let's look at the euro first. This is from overnight, and we'll take this all the way through. So we're going to start both of these, the GFS and the euro. We're on the euro for Wednesday evening, the 26th. Time frames are up here. It says February 26th, 7 p.m. We have a piece of northern stream energy shooting across the Great Lakes region, the upper Midwest, into the Ohio Valley. This could bring some snow for the interior New England area, but this will mainly be a rain event further south along the I-95 corridor. And this will kind of dive down with a trough. They'll dig down across really just the extreme eastern U.S. They really want to affect the central U.S. So you can see that 540 line diving down. Somebody asked a question in the comments yesterday, what is the 540 line? Just think of it as cold air aloft. Normally when you see this first blue line dive in, you know you have a cooler air mass at least moving in. This isn't surface type stuff. This is up in the atmosphere, but it symbolizes a cooler air mass. I just leave it at that for now. But that'll dive in. And then as we're getting deeper into the weekend, I would say a stronger, sharper cold front will move in with a piece of northern stream energy, and this could bring some unsettled weather, mainly in Ontario and Quebec, and it will bring some unsettled weather for the Northeast into Saturday. Some rain here, snow there. Sharp cold front, but I don't really think it dives very far south. You can see that it just kind of swings into the Northeast, and we still got energy coming into the western U.S. And I do want to watch. The euro has it. There is going to be kind of an upper low that swings into the western U.S. And we're about a week out. So we're starting to get into next Monday, March the 3rd. I want to watch how this trough begins to eject across the country with pieces of energy basically forming to the southwest and ejecting to the northeast. And you see this L right here, this L here. These are multiple pieces of energy, multiple surface lows ejecting across the country. And when these little pieces of energy eject across the country, it yanks up this Gulf moisture just like that. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So just like that, it yanks up this Gulf moisture, and you're going to run the risk for severe weather. And each little low pressure right here and here will bring its own wind energy, if you will, and you get the overlapping of conditions, and then you're going to run the risk of some severe weather. So I am watching that time frame getting into the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Kind of that time frame we've always been watching. Now, I've been more so saying the 5th and after, but I've always been saying give or take a day. So we'll see what happens. I just want to watch this as a 989 millibar low ejecting across Kentucky about 9 to 10 days from now. That's pretty far out, so this is going to tweak a lot. But it does have a snowy side to it, so we'll watch that. And we're getting to that 5th time frame, and this low pressure steadily begins to strengthen as that millibar number drops, and we have a powerful storm system riding over the Northeast about 10 days out. This could bring all kinds of weather. And then what happens after that? I do think some cold air tries to drop down into the lower 48. I'm just not seeing this being a deep shot of cold air. But that could change because we will still be in those favorable MJO phases, I think. A little low right here. This is past 300 hours out. And honestly, I don't really think there's much point in looking this far out. I think I wouldn't say we're starting to lock into a storm system at day 8 to 10, but I'm already watching that time frame pretty good. So same thing with the GFS. As the GFS show what the Euro's showing will start off Wednesday evening. There's that energy shooting through. Later this week with a trough digging down across the eastern U.S. This will cool us down for a day or two. Even for areas pretty far southeast, but I don't even think this will be a lot of cold air to the southeast. I think the coldest air will be up here to the northeast, but this will get some northwest flow energy ongoing once again across the northeast for the last day of February, and then here comes another piece of energy that will dive in. The GFS wants to show a colder scenario as we're getting to this coming Saturday morning, March the 1st, with some snow all the way down to New York City, Boston, southern New England. Let's see if the GFS wins that battle and sniffs out a colder scenario. But there's the dips in the blue lines indicating a colder air mass diving into the eastern U.S., a ridge flex out west. And here it is. Here's some energy there's a little bit of energy kind of undercutting the ridge right here. I don't know about this, but it's really what kind of dives in out west right here. And it's a couple days later on the GFS. So here comes a 992 millibar low coming out of eastern Colorado. This deepens pretty quick, and we have a 984 millibar low at this point getting into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning of next week. So we're talking pretty far out. So it's the 4th into the 5th has a big, powerful blizzard, ongoing across the Dakotas, and we would most likely have severe weather to the south of this low. And as you can tell, this low is just flat out ejecting further west across the middle of the country. The Euro has this moving much further east, so it's a pretty powerful low pressure moving across Iowa. Severe snowstorm up here to the north, and it's just getting into that time frame that I'm really thinking we're going to have a powerful storm system. I've been saying the 5th through the 10th, but it could start as early as 3rd and 4th and lead into that time frame. 980 millibar low, it starts to get zonal as that cold air presses down that low pressure, starts to go more west to east, and this just flies over the Great Lakes into southern Ontario, eventually into the northeast, and then a cold shot of air kind of follows. But how deep would that cold shot be? The GFS wants to try to show some mischief pretty far south, but this is past 300 hours out. It's nothing to take super serious. In fact, it tries to get a little bit of sleet showing up all the way down to Charleston on the afternoon of the 10th of March. That's pretty wild stuff. So we'll just have to watch stuff. I think this March is going to bring some wild weather. I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, moving forward, looking at the snow signal, if you will, and this is not a forecast. The Euro Ensemble through the evening of the 10th of March. So it takes us pretty much through 1/3 of March. It keeps most of the snow where it typically is this time of the year, right up into this area. Okay, not even a very strong signal across the Dakotas and Minnesota, but I got some loyal followers up here in the UP of Michigan and in these areas in the Great Lakes. It doesn't look like it's going to slow down up here for the interior Northeast and New England area. It looks like you're going to continue to get rounds of snow, whether it comes in the form of lake effect snow, clippers, whatever it may be. I think these cold shots that continue to kind of come in through here, don't really dig very far south, will keep you guys locked into winter for the foreseeable future, even into March. And you can actually see the footprint of where the cold air comes based off the footprint of snow right up here. And then the Rockies are going to get theirs. There's the potential for a late season winter push for the ski resorts out west. I mean, there's some gnarly looking snowfall totals showing up for the Cascades, the Sierra Nevada, and the Rockies. But the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada especially so. But talking a little bit about the severe weather signal, as that low, and here it comes, this little upper low right here, undercutting, a little bit of a double barrel kind of a jet's kind of soaring down through here with this trough showing up, and this dip in the jet. So this is 500 millibar speeds right here. So this is where kind of our avenue of energy is flowing. Ridge spikes right up into here. So I'm going to draw on this a little bit. Ridge spikes right into here. Dip right into here. That's dipping down like that, and we got this little energy trapped up under the ridge, a little upper low. Now I want you to watch what this thing does as it continues to progress. So we're starting to get into Saturday, and we're getting into Sunday morning, and this develops into an all-out trough. And then we start to have some flow out the southwest. This is your classic look, especially as we're getting late into February, early March, for a return of severe weather. You're getting the flow coming out the southwest just like this. So flow's coming in just like that. I don't like that color. Okay, some sort of upper low right into here. This is yanking in that warm Gulf moisture up, and this is bringing its own kind of wind energy, which is right into here, right into this area, overlapping of ingredients. We got to watch Monday. Maybe even Sunday, and maybe getting into Tuesday too. So this is just a blend. So this is the Euro Ensemble. So it looks like energy is going to be ejecting across the middle of the country. And then this just develops into an all-out trough, dip in the jet, ridge begins to flex. Ridge begins to flex across the east like this now. Full on out dip. And we got just probably pieces of energy kind of ejecting across the country. And this is just yanking in that warm, moist air, and then we got all the wind energy to riding with it. So when you start to get the flow that's digging down just like this and then ejecting across the country, especially this time of the year, this is when we have to begin to watch out for severe weather. Okay, so and you keep this going and it continues to have that look. You start to move forward and it starts to move over the the southeast, and then the flow might get a little bit more zonal after that, and we get a break. But there's a time period to watch. I would say getting between that day 7 and 10 time frame for severe weather, for sure. I'm seeing it just like others. Now you can see the response of moisture. Now check it out. So you saw that, what I just showed you with kind of the jet just going just like that, right? Now I want you to watch this area in response to the pull from southwest to northeast of the flow going just like that over the middle of the country. Watch how it yanks up all this green area right into this region. That is our Gulf. That is our moist air from the Gulf. So you start to see dew points in the 50s, 60s, heck, even 70s, kind of building out of the Gulf here. And as we're moving forward, I want you to watch this. Watch that little area I just circled. See how the dew points begin to increase. These are dew points, not temperatures. It's getting into Sunday. Dew points starting to get into the 60s along the Texas coastline. And then we start to get into Monday. Okay, they start to build even more. And this is next Monday. So dew points creeping to around 60 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And remember, we have that flow going over this region. Going just like that off the Euro Ensemble. This is the Euro Ensemble too. So flow could be up here. It could be down here. Your best flow aloft. Your best wind energy aloft. And the timing, of course, is always huge. But you do have a sector of moist air bubbling up. A moist sector. Or a warm sector. Some people call it either or both. It's technically both. And then we get into Tuesday. We're getting to Tuesday afternoon. And there it is. Starting to ride up the Mississippi Delta. Dew points making it all the way widespread into the 60s across Louisiana. A good chunk of Mississippi. And we could have a corridor of severe weather into next Tuesday. I just want to watch this time frame. And then maybe an opportunity for severe weather across the southeast in the next Wednesday. This isn't this week. That's next week. So we'll continue to fine tune that. But I know just kind of breaking down the pattern in general and what this means as far as the 500 millibar chart. Remember the blues, lower pressure, and the orange and the yellows and the reds you see, that's higher pressure. So lower pressure normally means some sort of storm system, unsettled weather, and it normally brings colder air behind it or with it, especially when they have an all-out trough like this blue area right here. So I want you to watch this little blob right here, this blue blob. It's kind of upper low, Baja low, whatever you want to call it, and how it just kind of meanders further east. Ridge is kind of spiking on top of it with this dip in the jet over the Great Lakes region, the northeast. All right, now watch what this does in time. This is the system to watch, this little blue blob. Okay, another one kind of drops down. So the initial one kind of weakens, and then another one drops down. They kind of merge. So we're getting about a week out. And this blue blob becomes bigger, develops into an all-out dip in the jet. And as this moves in, remember, flow around low pressure goes just like this, especially when it's a cutoff like this. Now, this is beginning to, I would say, not become a cutoff anymore as it's about to develop into an all-out trough. But I want you to focus on the flow at the bottom of this. The flow is going just like this. Okay, around this low pressure. That's why it's yanking up that warm, moist air out the Gulf. So that's kind of what's going to bring that severe weather opportunity between day 7 and day 10. And then, could develop into an all-out trough. But I can tell you, it looks like we went away a little bit from the colder scenarios in the longer range. It looks like it's just kind of, it's just still trying to figure itself out. I mean, that's still a cooler look for sure for the eastern U.S. as we get into the first full weekend. Well, I would say the second weekend of March. But I think the long range is still trying to iron itself out for sure, like it always is. But as far as temperatures compared to average, it's starting off Wednesday evening. Most of the country above average. And then we start to see more blue come up on your screen, especially for the south and the eastern U.S. as that first cold front kind of moves in. Then that second cold front moves in. And I do think it'll be quite a chilly day across the northeast, even into the mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley. As we're getting into our Sunday, temperatures will be well below average. And even into like Sunday night to Monday, could be a very, very cold Monday morning, next Monday morning for the northeast. And maybe all the way down to the southeast. Could be a cold start to the morning. And then quickly, temperatures rebound between the day 7 and day 10 time frame. And listen, this makes perfect sense to me because remember that energy will be moving in to the west, that little blue blob we were talking about. this brings its own cold air, its own unsettled weather. That means you're going to have colder air right over this area. And then we're going to have that ridge spike. Because if this dies down, this area of unsettled weather dives down, it kind of spikes the ridge, and it'll be going just like that. So there'll be a ridge spike over the eastern U.S. This will warm us back up. It actually correlates very well on the temperature anomalies. And then we keep going here, and that energy will probably eject across the country, cool it back down. And then what happens after that, who knows? The entire country could begin to cool down, but the latest model guidance from overnight says it really backs off on the cold air, which I'm perfectly fine with personally. So we'll see what happens with that. But as far as today's weather, and we'll continue to fine-tune that. As far as today's weather, there's a lot of little pieces of energy everywhere. I mean, we got energy up here. I mean, it's warm. So, I mean, it's too warm for any kind of snow out in Montana, except if you live in the higher elevations. We got some energy moving into Oregon, Northern Cal, showers around San Fran, Point South, and we got this Gulf low just kind of cruising across these areas and moving into Florida. This is bringing a soaking rain this morning. And then we got the energy up here in the Great Lakes and Ontario, and we got snow up here moving into Quebec. And I mean, this is even too warm up here. So we got a lot of warm air flooding the country right now. As far as watches, warnings, and advisories, now we do have winter weather advisories that will expire here in the next several minutes, actually, in the UP of Michigan. So not a big winter weather event at all up there. And then we are starting to get some winter storm warnings issued for, say, the Cascades, even a little bit in the Rockies of Wyoming, and winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings. We got a winter weather advisory up here in northwest Montana. I don't even know what this is for. Yeah, a little bit of freezing rain. There's a lot of warm air flooding the upper levels of the atmosphere, but not quite making it to the surface in these areas. So a little bit of freezing rain is possible up here in northeast Montana. Get my directions mixed up. But, I mean, overall, not a very active watches, warnings, and advisories maps at all. Let's get this back off, and let's look at the chance of thunderstorms today. Now, there is a little risk of severe weather for the Pacific Northwest. Pretty wild stuff. A marginal risk in this area. And this is driven off a little bit of strong wind chances. So this is where we have a 5% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. So seems uncommon to get this in late February in this area, but here we are. It tells you how much of the jet is really pushed to the north. And then I want to come all the way down to Florida, basically corner to corner. Miami, you guys, Fort Lauderdale, I mean, the Florida Keys, I mean, Key West. You guys, the Everglades, you guys have a marginal risk of severe weather today, level 1 out of 5. And this is because of tornadoes. I mean, you got a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location a day. And I do think, especially when you get, I would say watch out for the Bahamas too. This system is a pretty powerful little system. There's going to be some nasty storms in this entire area today. So just be aware of that for sure. And, you know, to get it, let's look at the excessive rainfall outlook. There is a small risk of flooding in this area, and we have a risk of flooding in the Pacific Northwest. But, you know, breaking down the southeast today, look at all that rain for Florida. And those storms look powerful. I would really watch if you live out in the Florida Keys. These storms could pack a punch today. You get a little bit further north, the atmosphere won't be quite as unstable, but they have a 2% risk of a tornado for a reason for the southern areas of Florida. And then as we're getting into this evening, these storms can move into the Bahamas. So if you're vacationing down here and you just happen to be tuning in, there could be some nasty weather in the Bahamas today. Just later tonight into tomorrow morning, nasty storms moving through, powerful little low coming out the Gulf into the southeast Atlantic. And yeah, just prepare yourself for a washout down here in these areas for the next 24 hours for sure. And, you know, as far as rainfall between now and the next couple days, 1.5 inches to close to 2 inches of rain for Miami, and just the entire southern half of Florida could get, I mean, over an inch of rain, even going for over an inch up here in Gainesville, which is the northern portions of Florida. So, and this is the updraft velocity swath. Now, you notice some of those highlighted colors really aren't, I would say, into the mainland of southern Florida, but you get into the Florida Keys, there are some definitely highlighted areas indicating rotating updrafts in the Florida Keys. So Key West, I mean, everybody, be aware of some water spouts moving on shore, just a quick spin up. If your area gets a special, marine statement or something, or even a tornado warning, take it serious, because there is a legit tornado threat down here today. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear some things about this area later today. So the Northeast, it's pretty quiet weather. There is a piece of northern stream energy flying in. This will deliver a little bit of snow for the Adirondacks and northern Vermont and New Hampshire, and then this will bring a round of snow into Maine, western Maine especially, and then just pretty much across the entire state of Maine, especially in the northern half. This could bring some light snowfall accumulations, and outside of that, warmer air begins to flood in. Could wake up to some showers tomorrow morning in areas of the Northeast. The south central U.S., there's not really anything to talk about. Some lingering showers across the Bayou of Louisiana. Get into this evening, into tomorrow morning, and I mean, there's really nothing to speak on. So enjoy your day. The north central U.S. will get rid of this system, and we could have some showers kind of making their way through the Dakotas across the southern half of Minnesota, and these showers can make it all the way into the Midwest, into northern Illinois, Iowa, and just kind of a thin area of showers. It'll make its way from the plains all the way through the Ohio Valley eventually by tomorrow morning. Very fast-moving area of showers. So then some lingering snow showers up here in the UP and Michigan over the next 24 hours. Out west, a lot of energy into the Pacific Northwest. You can see just round after round of precipitation. Here comes these thunderstorms. It could get going later on. And, we'll just have to watch this region. The HRRR model is not really showing this much in this region where you have that marginal risk, but does show these thunderstorms making their way through areas of Oregon and Washington, higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. I do think the snow levels will begin to drop somewhat. That's a pretty powerful low pressure up here. 989 low, kind of right off the northwest coastline of Washington. That's a pretty powerful storm system, so be aware of that. And then we'll get the snow flying around here in the higher elevations of Idaho, Montana by tomorrow. So rainfall between now and the next, this is precipitation between now and the next 48 hours. Seattle could get another inch of rain. Same thing with Portland. This is snow. You can see those snow levels beginning to drop, and we're seeing more widespread snow now, but still confined, obviously, to the Cascades. Not even close to cold enough for snow in Seattle. The Olympic Mountains, starting to see some heavy snowfall totals showing up, and we're getting over feet of snow. And then we drop it down to Oregon. Not as much snow down here over the next 48 hours, but certainly several inches, and this is precipitation. Eugene could get over a half inch to maybe an inch of rain. Salem, same thing. Medford, not quite as much. And then we switch it over into Idaho. This is precipitation, but definitely we'll start to see a lot more snow in these areas. Several inches of snow in those higher elevated regions. So temperatures today, it's starting to warm up. 50s as far north as the southern areas of the UP and Michigan. Lower Michigan, we're getting the 50s, so definitely a thaw is underway. We start to see more and more of this when we get to the later portion of February. Could start to get the return of some 70s for areas of the southeast. Still chilly up in the northeast. The southern plains getting into the 70s and 80s. And then the western U.S. The plains are just warming on up. 60s all the way up into South Dakota. It's just a nice return of warm air in these areas. Definitely a lot different than what you saw last week, where, this week we're getting, 60s and 70s in the Springfield and these areas right in here. They got a lot of snow about 5 days ago, and it was snowing in like the single digits, low teens. It's much different now. So warming on up in the southwest. 70s, 80s, very warm temperatures. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful Monday. God bless all y'all, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.